Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Future of BizTech. I'm your host, JC Granger. I have with me here Chris Liu, who is the co-founder of Copy.AI. Chris, thank you so much for being on the show. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what it is that Copy.AI does?
Perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah, so CopyAI is a company trying to harness the power of large new AI models and to empower businesses. We're starting off by helping tackle marketing copy, social media copy, and we believe it's the end of writer's block. So what we do right now is very much help people brainstorm new angles, new ideas. As any business owner knows, you have so much copy to write. And AI, while it's not as good to write it for you, it can at least get you 80, 90% of the way there and then have a human, edit the last little bit and it's ready to go.
I love that tagline, end of writer's block. And that's a bold statement to make. And for anyone listening, though, for transparency purposes, I am now officially a client. I had actually asked Chris to be on the show because I loved your software so much. I was actually kind of blown away. I was telling you, Chris, that there was only two fields it asked me to put in when I wanted some subject line for emails, suggestions. And it was basically just like, oh, tell us the name of your company or the service, and then like one or two sentences tops about the service. And I was like, okay, well, that doesn't sound like a lot. And man, the results that came in, I was like, this is gold. Like, these are really, really good.
Yeah, thank you. These new AI models have a recent advancement that's been mind-blowing. Basically, there's this premise that if you train a larger model, it gets smarter.
Yeah.
And so they pushed it to the limits. And this is 100 times larger than the previous model that existed. And it turns out it ended up being quite coherent. And because of the size of the model, it has a lot of knowledge inside of it. So it can generate copy for almost any sort of industry, any sort of niche, even products that don't exist yet.
So let me ask you a question here. I mean, we touched on a little bit, like it helped me personally with email subject lines, but what are some of the major things that your customers or subscribers or whatnot are using Copy AI for?
Yeah, some of the more standard copywriting formulas are still really hard to brainstorm as a human, especially if you don't know the industry as well. So a lot of freelance copywriters, they would use our tool to do a first pass, almost like a research. Say, hey, what are the pain points? How do I agitate these pain points? And they would copy and paste, and they will get a good feel of the industry that they're trying to write for. Other tools that people have used significant amounts of is blog ideas. It's like, generating an entire blog and then, having it coherent and having other ideas to write about can be a huge pain. Product descriptions, social media captions, all kinds of marketing related copy. Right now, we are very much focused on shorter form. So this is much more around ideation, around smaller, pieces of content, like a call to action, maybe an email subject line. But we do hope in the future to offer longer form pieces of content that can really drive traffic or improve and make businesses a lot more efficient.
What about sales copy? I mean, we talk about, marketing copy and, website copy, you're talking about that, but what about like sales copy? Does your system do that well or at all? And then if so, what kind of feedback have you gotten from it?
Yeah, it does. But right now we do the pieces of the sales copy. So, we have a social proof text. We have, a cliffhanger tool where it tries to write a specific story in the sense of like a cliffhanger that tries to get people to, scroll further down the page. We have call to actions, and we have one of my favorites is actually feature to benefit. So you can just list out the features of your tool and then the AI tries to brainstorm them into benefits. And then to even before you even focus on, the sales page, we have a value proposition tool, which from jacobmcmillan.com helped us create. And he's like, most business owners don't even know the value proposition or how to even think about their value proposition. So you type in a simple thing. We help, small businesses write marketing copy with AI, and then it will spit back, these specific value propositions that would make sense for your customers.
And how predictive, or how about this, how fast is it learning right now? I mean, what can you tell the audience about, like, where did you even get the database to start with, right? And you have to start somewhere. So, what kind of tools or databases are maybe public or out there that can be, for this AI, like what's it built on, I guess is my point.
Yeah, so it's this new model called GPT-3, and it's a pre-trained transformer. So a lot of the training data happened back in like 2019. It basically is trained on a lot of text that is open license. So think Wikipedia, blog posts. They have to basically go out and scrape the web. They claim that took about 10% of the internet. So it's a significant
Yeah.
amount, but it's mostly English based. I think the internet in general is mostly English as well. So that's what it's trained on. What we're trying to do, though, is to add an additional few layers of context to this large pre-trained model, because some of the data may be out of date, or we wanted to do very specific things. But yeah, it's insane what it already knows. It's not as good as generating factual data, but it's great for brainstorming angles and storytelling and finding a coherent way to tell a story.
Yeah, no, I find that the hardest part of copy is sales copy, right? So and everything kind of contributes to it. Really, if you think about it, I guess anyone listening who owns a business, everything you're doing is sales related somehow, right? When you're and so email subject lines, the email copy itself, like you said, value propositions, all that has one giant goal of making sure that the recipient reading, right, understands and wants to buy your service or product. But how easy is this to use? So I've used it, so of course, but can you explain to the audience, what walks someone through visually, well, verbally, I guess, but to paint the picture of what does it look like, they first sign in after they subscribe, and let's say they pick, email subject line or a sales copy or value prop. How much work do they have to do? Like they click on the thing they want, but then what do they have to do? How easy is it? And then what is the results? How does it walk you through the end product of it?
Yeah, great question. We try to make it as simple as possible, and then we will make it more complex as we go along. So from the vast majority of the tools, there's only two inputs, a name and then a description. Sometimes it's not necessarily name and description. Sometimes it might be an intent, like, hey, this is an email, but who is the email for and what is it about?
Name
And
of
then,
what though? Name of the product service, name of the
yeah,
company, name of
normally
the person.
whatever you need. So if you need, a landing page for your company, then it's the name of the company. If you want it for a specific product line, then it could be for a specific
Got
product.
it. Okay.
We try to make it as general as possible. And then you just click create once you fill those two fields out, and we give you 7 to 10 results every single time that you click create, unique results that then you can, choose your favorite. What we realize is this is an entire new field called generative AI. And, if you think about AI like another person, they're going to have a lot of ideas, but you have to filter through the ideas to find the ones that speak the most to you. And so ultimately, there's a human curation aspect of this. So our job is to try to surface as many ideas, uh, and then it's your job to try to find the ones that you really like.
Mhm.
And then you ultimately can copy and paste it out of the app and use it wherever you'd like. There's a bunch of websites actually already that use a lot of copy from CopyAI. And one of my favorites is this tagline: "A broken link is a broken promise." And it's for a business that's, basically it's called permanent links. And for
Yeah.
ebook owners or sellers, they will take a link and then make it permanent. So then you'll never lose, like, you'll never get redirected to an error page.
Cool. That's really cool. Yeah. So here's the thing. I mean, where do you see, the future of this going, right? Let's say from the industry itself, right? I mean, you guys do something that I haven't seen done that well in a long time, but you will have competition, obviously, right? So, competition can make you better, but where do you see the future of, AI when it comes to writing and capabilities, into long form, into essays, maybe like, where do you see just the general industry going in that 5 year mark?
Yeah, that's a great question. Our North Star is empowering people. There is this narrative out there that AI is going to take people's jobs, and we just don't subscribe to that. We think AI plus humans will be even better. So we really, really want to focus on creating features that would help the humans get the results they want. Right now, we only have two fields, but as people look for very, very specific needs, the AI will need more context. So new features would include, hey, understanding more context about like who are they? What is the brand voice? What is the tone? What's the purpose? And if we can understand that, we may be able to generate results that are going to be much more targeted. Long term, we really think that entrepreneurship will be easier. Anyone who right now, might have to hire an entire team just to get a company off the ground. We're already starting to see some solopreneurs, get going, with the advent of no code, low code technology and social media networks. But it's still really, really hard to just get everything that needs to happen to start a company. And so our goals are to lower those barriers one at a time as well.
Let me ask you a question here. This is kind of a hypothetical, right? Because if I'm kind of asking where the future of the industry is going, where this AI could go, not just for copy AI, but just AI in general that does content. Let me ask you a question. Let's say 3-4 years from now, do you see it possible to have an entire book written for yourself? Now, obviously, you have to have more fields you fill out, but there's one thing I know about book writing is that there is a method to the madness, right? There are courses out there that say, listen, if you're going to write a book of this style, whether it be sci-fi over here, or you can write a book about educational stuff, there are people who have created breakdowns of like in the order of when you need to be, saying these things, like, and there's just like movies, right? There's always a flow and there's a climax and then it comes down, the good guy wins, there's a flow that works, that is received well. So I guess my question is, hypothetically speaking, do you see either the industry or your company having the ability where if someone filled out enough fields of Q&A style, that entire chapter or an entire book could be rough draft written anyway for someone, and then they can go in and just basically edit, like you could write a book for yourself based on, throwing your thoughts into these Q&As and then have the whole book written out? Like, do you see that even being possible here soon?
Yeah, I think that's definitely possible in 3 to 4 years. It might happen sooner than that.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's dog years when it comes to AI, right? Like it just happens so fast.
Right. This new technology has been around for about like just under a year now, and we've already seen insane amounts of advancement. The AI does struggle right now for longer, like very, very long form, just because the context window of its understanding is relatively small. Hence why we're starting with shorter form text and content. Within the next year, you're going to be able to program with this in natural language, which is going to be insane. And then I think within the next year, you'll also be able to describe an image and then the AI will draw it for you. And not just draw it, it will like render it and make it feel like, realistic.
Yeah, I didn't think about that because we were only talking about text, but there's obviously an image capability here. Maybe one day even video. I mean,
Video, we're
crazy.
seeing the early signs of it. So if you search up video GPT, there's like this algorithm out there that can try to predict the next second of video, but it's very, very rudimentary. The more processing power, the more,
Yeah. Now
cost.
that's the future right there. Now that's the answer to my question, right? Like, being able to advance to images, being able to advance to, and hell, I mean, digital paintings. You've got NFTs now where it's like people are talking about, proprietary images that are owned specifically. Imagine being able to create your own, starting with some platform like this, and then you can go into Photoshop and do the rest, and then you digitally own it. I mean, there's some crazy stuff that could be down the line here just from this base foundation that you guys and the industry are building, right?
Yeah, it's absolutely mind blowing what's possible here. And we're really, really excited about it all. We think that there's some insane stuff. I don't know if everyone can see these images on the
Yeah,
podcast.
well, on YouTube, yeah, they can see the background image, but you have to make sure you paint the picture for the audience listening.
Got it. Yeah. So right here, this is a futuristic spaceship scene in the style of, I think it was Blade Runner. So
Okay.
you can kind of see it. This is AI drawn.
Wow.
One of my favorites is actually this, which is Van Gogh of Miami. So we were in Miami, we were showing off people.
But this is brilliant. I mean, digital art. People can, I mean, artists can start using this stuff, at least as a place to start, and then they can edit from there if they wanted to.
Exactly. This is a sunset at Big Sur. I don't know how easy it is for the
Oh,
viewers to
wow.
see. They're absolutely gorgeous.
You're
And
ridiculous.
yeah, what we think is that we're at the very forefront. And right now it works a little bit better for these more abstract types of artwork, but it's
Yeah.
going to get better and better. And the capabilities have been shown to be insane, and it seems like you can just scale it by
You
just
gotta send me whatever. Where did you get those? Like, were you messing around that, or was there a website somewhere that just does that image stuff you were talking about?
Yeah, this one is it's called a Google Colab, which is actually like, it's like a Python notebook that you can run in the cloud.
Oh, okay.
And this is done by a guy named Ryan. And he has a Patreon page where you can subscribe, and he releases new models for you to
Oh,
play
so
around with.
cool.
Yeah,
You'll have to send me a link to that after this because I just want to check out more of those images. That was really cool.
yeah,
But
will
yeah, I mean,
do.
that's amazing though. That's where I mean, we can surmise that in that 3, 4, 5 year period. I mean, imagine where it would be by then, right? I mean, you're right now. You're talking about ending writer's block, but there's creative block in general. I think that it sounds like it could really help with, and I mean, even for painters, right? For digital artists, again, videographers, but talk an AI that can take all the raw footage of the video and
Mhm.
chop. And then we already see this in apps, right? Apps are doing a really good job taking videos that people put into an app, and then it makes like Majesto, I think it was, or Majesto. It's one of those, and it does really good at just coming up with really cool stylistic parts. But those are more template based, whereas I feel like this AI could start being more intuitive about what would really draw people into a video because it can listen, it can see, and then it has all that data to build on. So I mean, that's incredible of where it's going. But let's ask now about where Copy AI is going. My audience loves to hear about new things coming down the pipeline. So what can you tell us in advance of what you guys are coming out with that's not in the platform right now? And granted, give or take, it's about 2 months before this drops from when we're recording. So, you're safe to have it secret for a little longer.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, we'll see. In 2 months, I think there's a good chance that we will launch some of these, or at least the early signs. What we realize is we have the building blocks for longer form, for very specific things like a sales page.
Mhm.
Like we have a hook, we have some social proof, we have potential testimonials, and we have benefits. Like we should be able to help someone brainstorm an entire page, and mix and match and really generate stuff that's going to be custom for them. We have all the tools for a custom email drip campaign. Can you imagine a unique email abandoned cart campaign per product? That would be hyper personalized. Yeah, we think we can really create these
And these are
building.
launching soon. These things you're talking about right here, this drip series.
Yes.
Nice.
We
Very
think that
cool.
these can all be building blocks to something much, much larger, that would be much more useful for a business. Yeah, it's really exciting stuff.
That is really cool. Well, let me ask you a question here. What kind of advice could you give the audience, and whether it be the best advice you've ever been given or just advice that from your experience in the startup world and AI and things like that?
Finding leverage. Ultimately, everything is about leverage. So, our mission is to give our customers the most leverage possible. Recently, we're testing some of these tools, and I had a high schooler write blog posts about stuff that they had no idea about. So
Yeah.
one of the blog posts is about bowling balls. How do you choose top 10 things to think about when choosing a bowling ball? She had no idea, but she
Yeah.
was able to create a first draft 1,000-word blog post,
Wow.
15 minutes.
How in 15 minutes
15 minutes,
with knowing nothing about the topic at all?
knowing nothing about the topic at all.
That is
And it's
impressive.
coherent. And so that is leverage, right? You can get an intern who normally would, the best thing they can do is help you bring coffee, maybe.
Yeah.
But now they can actually contribute at least a first draft, at least get to something where it's like, whoa, with like 10 minutes of editing, this can become a publishable piece of content.
Wow.
Social media content, same exact thing. We are seeing a lot of young college students using our app and becoming their own social media managers, creating their side projects. And we really believe in that leverage. So for us, that's something we focus on internally a lot. And then we also try to think about how can we bring this leverage to our customers.
That's really cool. Last question. Who would be kind of like your perfect client? Like what kind of industries or job titles are you seeing signing up for your service? Who's getting the most benefit? Obviously, anyone listening can probably figure out how to make this beneficial to themselves, but just kind of like who's really gravitating towards Copy AI right now?
Yeah, solo business owners right now find the biggest value. And that's because they're doing it themselves.
Yeah.
They can't, scale themselves well enough. And if they do try to hire other people, sometimes gets really, really expensive and you're not too sure about the output. So there's this like sweet spot. Social media managers, they are able to unlock so much time. I consistently hear from them being like, this is a lifesaver. They're on the content treadmill, and every business today knows that the content treadmill is really, really important. The second you stop making content, the second you become less and less relevant. And not only that, there's more platforms than ever to post to, and
Yeah.
each platform has its own unique aspects to it. So people use our tool to really be able to give themselves leverage to create a piece of content across 10 different platforms and really get the reach out there. So social media managers, their biggest pain point is writer's block.
Sure.
When you try to
It's
say
a
the
lot
same
they have to
thing.
come up with.
Exactly. You're trying to say
Yeah.
the same thing 10 different ways to 10 different audiences, on 5 different social media networks. After a few hours of that, your brain is dead. Here, they can just constantly click the button, change a few things, and all they have to do is select the ones that they like. And they absolutely love that. Some people are like, man, I've been able to do my entire month's worth of social media in like 4 hours. There was another person who's a social media manager. They found the app at like midnight. They worked until 6 a.m. because they were so excited and completed like 2 weeks worth of work. So it's unbelievable leverage. The last one would be ad agencies. So right now, ad agencies find a whole lot amount of value just because they're limited by other people. And when you're able to click a button and get an idea back for a client that you might not have the most knowledge about, it's powerful. You really understand their business at a deeper level, and the AI can really, brainstorm the pain points that their clients have. And we consistently seeing it being very accurate. As a matter of fact, we are testing some basic ads with an agency, and they're customers of ours. And the results are just astounding. So those are the early customers, but in the next few months, we think that we're going to be able to provide a lot more business value across a lot more businesses.
Well, I'll tell you right now, as a marketing agency owner, I'm already using your software. I mean, a lot of times people come to me to be on the show. You're one of the few people that I reached out to, and I was like, I need you on the show because I think what you're doing is amazing. It worked about 10 times better than I expected it to at this stage of its development. So I love it, and I already have my people taking a look at it. So anyone listening, I recommend going to Copy.AI, check it out. It'll kind of blow you away, and it sounds like you're gonna even, by the time they even hear this, it's gonna be even farther along, which would be really cool. So let me ask you a question here. How can people reach the company? How can they reach you personally if they have a higher level partnership thing or something like that? Give us a little bit of info, a little contact info here.
Yeah, you can email me at chris@copy.ai. I'm very, very responsive. I do actually all the customer support right now myself. And the other place to follow us would be on Twitter. So Twitter has been our channel. We are building the company fully openly. And so we've hired from Twitter. We share monthly updates about our revenue, our strategy, our plans, all on Twitter. And the goal is really to inspire more entrepreneurship and also really showcase what the power of this generative AI is. We really believe that we're at the beginning of this new wave. And people have been scared, but we are really, really excited. Like any new technology, there are some things that may disappear, but this will empower people beyond their wildest imaginations.
That's amazing. Chris, listen, thank you so much for being on the show. I'm looking forward to talking to you again and seeing all the new advances of Copy AI. Thanks again.
Thank you, JC. Have a good one.